All right, you are able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let me just look at what all thing that we have covered so far and then what is remaining. My training topics. All right, so we have covered, advanced Excel, everything is completed. We also covered dynamic dashboards in our like last to last session, and last week we covered quality report. Uh, so this should be green. And also we also covered like some ifs counter. So these so as I said in the last, I think most of the people were not like available in the last session. So the topics that I'm covering is particularly for the reporting and MIs, okay, the skill set, and I'm not covering the entire Excel, okay. But based on my experience, what I feel that is important, to cover MIs and the reporting skill set, those I have taken, okay. uh, Yeah, so today we are going to start with KPI scorecard. Does anyone know what the KPI scorecard is? I mean, has any brief idea why the KPI and what is the use of KPI scorecard? Anyone has any brief idea? So I not many people have joined, so I can ask precise.
Uh,
So Kavita, you know what the KPI is?
uh, Maybe it is like a performance measurement parameters which
Right.
we need to look into.
Right, a super important mechanism to track the performance of your like business. Like for example, I'll give you from example from my company. I have developed KPI scorecard for supply chain business, for finance business, for operations. So it's very important. Like you are managing a very large operations team. Okay, it's
Mhm,
very challenging to keep a track of everything. Who is doing what and what. It becomes super challenging if you try to focus on everything. Hence
mhm,
you need to do it strategically. Define some strong KPIs, okay, which will measure the performance of your entire business. Okay, for example, if you let me show the KPI example that we are going to see. Okay, this I can hide, I think. All right. So this data that we have, it's like assume this is an operation data, okay, wherein the people are responsible for processing the invoice, okay. So there
mhm,
are like a lot of processing needs to do, indexing needs to be done, and then to pay the invoice. Some like in real world, some invoices get processed automatically, but let's say majority of the process invoices get stuck, which could not be processed automatically for some reason, like there is some information
mhm,
missing. For that there is a team,
mhm,
okay, who manually process the invoice after checking all the parameters, okay. So the example that we are going to see today is pertaining to this operations, okay. Invoice processing, and
okay,
then we have let's say people. These are the team members that I have added, like there are 3 4. So this
mhm,
is just an hypothetical example. In real world the team will be very large. So currently let's say we have 5 team member, and they are supporting the team. Amazon, Costco, yeah. Team name is Amazon, okay. So like there are various teams, like some people are looking after Amazon, some are looking after Big Bazaar, DMart, and Geomart. So this is an hypothetical example that I have built. Okay,
mhm.
this is a real example. I mean, what we are going to see in real industry example, but the names I have changed. Just to ensure that we are not getting into any
Okay.
trouble or anything. Okay, so you understood the use case, right? The data is basically an invoice processing data. People are responsible to process the invoice based on various parameter. Now, as a
Mhm,
reporting and MIS analyst, my job is to basically you know, uh, very first thing you need to connect with the senior leader to understand the KPIs. Okay, what the KPIs are. KPIs stands for key performance indicator. Okay,
Mhm.
so
Yes.
you uh, there may be a possibility that senior you may get all the KPIs from your senior leader and you can just directly have to build the report. But there may be a case wherein you are involved in the defining KPIs. Okay, you have
Mhm.
a say in the discussion. You recommend business that they should be the KPI. Okay, so before we start with the reporting, there is a long process that we need to go through, to make a strategic decisions on defining the KPIs. Okay, so yeah, let's say we had all the discussion and now we are uh, say these are the KPIs that we have defined. Okay, and this is not for. Okay, so we'll take this example. Okay, we very first KPI that I have defined is that invoice with order with profit should be greater than 40%. Okay, this means that
Okay.
out of all the invoices that we have processed, uh, the invoice the I mean the profit. Let me show the example. Yeah, so this is let's say this is the example of an invoice. Okay, in this the profit
Mhm.
is 5%. Okay,
Okay.
we have this like, and this is simply just a, yeah, invoice value divided by profit. Okay, now what this KPI says is at least 60% of the invoice that you process. Okay, uh, the invoice, at least 60% of the invoice that you process should have profit greater than 40%. Okay,
Okay.
let's say
Mhm.
you did total in a month or a year you processed 100 invoice. Okay, and like there were 30 invoices which were in which the profit were 15%, like less than 15% or something.
Mhm.
There were 70 invoice which were for let's say 40%, and there were 70 invoice for which profit was 40%. So in this particular scenario we have met the goal. Okay, let's
Mhm.
yeah, so we have achieved 70%. The target was 60%, but we have achieved 70% because we have processed 70% of the invoices for which the profit was 70%. Understood the
Mhm.
scenario? Okay,
We have processed 70% of the invoices wherein the profit was more than
40%.
40%.
Okay, got it. Yeah, so this
Yeah.
kind of strategic KPI that we need to define, it will always,
Uh-huh.
obviously, when you define you are defining an KPIs for a large business. It should not be very straightforward, like target based. You need to like uh, for example, monthly target like 500 invoice has to be processed. Not so simple KPIs. Some strategic KPI
Mhm.
has to be there. And the
Mhm.
second KPI that we have is invoice should be processed in less than 3 days. Okay. So when
Right.
yeah, user is receiving an invoice in his bucket, he need to ensure that it is processed in 3 days, and the target for that
Mhm.
is 70%. That means at, at least 70% of the invoices has to be processed less than 3 days. Then you will be
Mhm.
considered as met. You have met the KPI,
Expectation.
else not met.
Okay.
Okay, and the third KPI is that invoice value greater than 500 should be processed in 2 days. Now these are the high value invoices. Okay, business may have the
Mhm.
preference over this. So when users when executives are processing the invoices, they need to strategically you know uh, manage their workload. It's not that just randomly picking the invoice and processing. As per the KPI, they need to basically plan their workload, and they need to ensure that they take this high value invoice first so that the target is met. Okay, now in this scenario is like invoice value greater than, like the invoice value which has sales greater than 500 should be processed in 2 days. Understood? Any questions on this?
Mm.
Someone
No,
is
I'm
trying
good.
to join.
No, sir.
Yeah. Hey, hi Divya. Okay. So Divya, we have started with the KPI. It's very important topic that we are going to take today. I was hoping more people to join because it's going to be super helpful. But yeah, I think people are preferring to watch video over joining. That is my assumption. Uh, so
Hi, Piyush. Hi, sorry. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear.
Okay, okay. Sorry. Actually, I was traveling, so just now I reached home, and that's why I got connected, got late. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I think it's important to understand what we are, trying to achieve. So I'll quickly, revise what we just covered in just
Yeah,
five
sure,
minutes.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
You understand the KPI, right? I think you must
Yeah.
have KPI. So we today we are going to, cover the KPI dashboard, and the
Okay.
examples that we are going to take is very similar to what the operations team do in our O2C finance world. Okay, the
Okay,
invoice
okay.
processing. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the data. Okay, and this is an invoice data for like different customers, that is Amazon, DMart, Big Bazaar. Okay, and these are the team members. The
Okay.
KPIs that we have is invoice with order. Hey, this is invoice with order. Having profit greater than 40%. Okay, this is for first KPI, invoice with order having profit greater than 40%, and the target for that this is 60%. So what this means is, like, there are 100 invoices, out of which 30 uh, were that were processed which were below 40%, for which the profit was below 40%, and 70 were processed which were greater than 40%. So in this scenario we have met the target because we have processed 70% of our invoices which had profit greater than 40%. And if you look
Okay.
at the data, what I mean by profit is, let's just so we have this profit and then we have invoice value, that is sales. Okay, so there's profit is just profit divided by sales. Okay, so and this basically helps in b- applying some logic behind planning the workload. When a team manager or a team lead is assigning the workload to the team member, you need to strategically decide on, based on the KPIs. Let's say he's allocating say 100 invoices to his team member. He need to ensure that he's taking right, you know a right number of invoices which is, aligning to the KPI. Okay, any questions on this,
No.
understanding this KPI? Okay, the second KPI is like, it's very straightforward. Invoice should be processed in less than 3 days and the target is 70%. The third one is invoice value greater than 500 should be processed in 2 days. Any questions here?
No.
Target is
So this
90%.
parameter has been set by us only, or like a business provides us with the parameter and basis on which we
Yeah.
develop our KPIs, right?
So that depend upon your, I mean, your discussion with the senior leadership.
Yeah.
Most of the time they will provide the KPI. There is a lot of pre-work that should be done before starting the reports or dashboard. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of strategic brainstorming needs to be done, because your KPI should be so strong that it measures the entire business. Okay.
Correct.
So yeah, you make like, as an analyst, as an like data analyst, as an MIS executive, you may get involved in the discussion, you may not involve. That completely depend upon your uh, decisions, your senior leader decisions. But like, if you are involved, you have, recommend some good KPIs which will and measure the entire business.
Got it.
And the last is again very straightforward, like, call it quantity should be greater than 500 in a month. I mean, invoice quantity that is processed, invoice quantity sold. I mean, let me just recollect what this. quantity sold. क्या है मेरे को याद नहीं आ रहा है। हाँ मतलब यही रहेगा आई थिंक इनवॉइस प्रोसेसिंग इनवॉइस टोटल इनवॉइस प्रोसेस्ड रहेगा टोटल दिस इज seems to be a very simple KPI total invoice should be greater than 500 in a month. Okay, so these are very hypothetical examples that I have taken, may not be relevant to the data, may not match with the data, but you're getting the point, right? you know
Yeah.
yeah.
It
So
was not the sales, right? It was the total
no
invoice
invoice
process.
total invoice processed, 500 does not look reasonable
Yeah,
for the sales,
yeah. Right.
I think. But yeah, this is how, and again as I said, the KPI need to be defined by understanding the current challenges. What are the challenges? So there could be multiple reasons. Some KPIs is to measure the performance, some KPIs to address the current challenges, like you have a low quality score. Okay.
So, Piyush, just one quick question.
Yeah.
The first parameter which is described,
Huh.
invoices with order handling profit more than 40%.
Hmm.
How can an analyst ensure that whatever invoices are coming his or her way are, I mean, obviously, whatever invoices have been assigned to a
Hmm.
person,
Hmm.
he or she has to put everything.
Hmm.
But how can one ensure that whatever invoices has been assigned, the database itself contains invoices with a profit more than 40%, I mean, 60% of the database, right?
So
So this is not
usually,
something,
right,
yeah.
right. No, usually what happens is there would be a particular team member who will assign the workload. Okay. So while assigning the workload, that means like there are say there is a queue where is there are thousand invoices. Okay. So he cannot just randomly assign it to people. He need to do some strategical analysis on which one should be processed first. So at that time, a team leader would assess. Okay, team leader will assess and he will do a Pareto analysis and identify which are the top invoices that need to be processed first, and accordingly we will assign the workload.
Okay.
Getting it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that is the approach. So this particular concept is called Pareto. Like you do a Pareto, you identified which are the top invoices which are contributing majorly to your sales, and accordingly do some analysis and then define the workload. So this particular parameter is on those lines. It's just like you. This
Yeah,
basically
getting that.
the action and the benefit of this particular KPI. This will bring some rigor around assigning the workload. So instead of just randomly assigning the workload, a team leader or the manager or maybe the a
So that this
particular.
KPI is basically more into our team leaders'
Not necessarily,
KPI
yeah,
and
not necessarily.
Mhm.
Even if any like a analyst is maybe there could this particular responsibility lies with analyst also. I mean the MIS executive also, or it could be manager also. Okay.
Mhm.
But yeah, but the main purpose of this KPI will be like having some process around uh, defining the workload.
Assignments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, so that's what I mean. The KPI, the main purpose of the KPI is basically uh, very first thing, measure the overall performance of the business. Okay, bring some rigor around process, bring some strategical approach toward the process, and then there could be some KPIs which is required to bring improvements. Okay, maybe consistently you are saying that quality score is low, then you will discuss with business and then you will recommend that I think this particular KPI needs to be added. Let's say a quality score should be 98%. So that brings in rigor around quality. So you start tracking that so that people know that now the quality has been tracked and we need to be mindful about quality.
Mhm.
Getting it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hence it becomes very important. In any business, having KPIs is super important because that really brings good balance towards the work and a strategic approach towards the work. All right, we'll start now. Now let's see how I may need to, I'm touching this topic after a very long time. I may need to, recollect things little bit, but yeah, we'll figure out while we are doing. So very first thing, okay, let me take the data in a separate sheet, because this one is already resolved. But it's super important you guys practice, huh? Because without sum if, count if, and all this, now it's super challenging. You may go through the videos, you may, but if you do not practice, it's super, like, it's going to be very difficult. You need to find time to practice. Okay. Now this is my data. Okay, it has product. It has invoice date, process date. Um, uh, we have then all the dimensions like country, segment, and everything. Okay, and the measures that we have is invoice value, invoice quantity, discount, profit. Okay, and then I think month we have added later on. Now suppose if we do not have month, okay, what we will do? Now our objective is to create a KPI month on month. Okay, we need to create now, and we notice that you know uh, there is no month available in my data. Okay, now next thing what we'll do, you will connect with your business partner with whom you are working on this, who has given you the requirement, and you will the question that you're going to need to ask is, what should we use for deriving the month? Is it invoice date or process date? Let's say if he says invoice date. Okay, so the next thing what you need to do is create a formula that is equal to text. Now we agreed on invoice date, so we'll take invoice date and that is month, like abbreviation for in double quotes. I think we had taken process date. Let me see. Okay, process date E. So let's say we have agreed to take on process date. Okay, so this is how we get the month in the data. Most of the time month should be there in the data, but if it is not there, then you need to figure out. Let's hide or keep it as it is again. I'll name this as my data source. Okay, now this is my KPI requirement. Okay, all right. So now we'll see how to resolve the first one. Okay, let me take the report format from here. I'm doing it for, okay. So there's little bit of preparation you need to do when you are doing a KPI. Uh, this is my Q2. All right. Okay. So what we are going to do, so I'm going to do for Amazon today. Okay, and then as an assignment, I'm going to share it with you all. to solve it for other customer. It should be super straightforward because we are not defining a different KPIs for different customer. I'm keeping it simple for now, but it's not going to be super simple when you work on the real, use cases. There could be a different KPIs for different customers. We have that, but I'm not trying to make it, complex right now. Let's start with simple, but then, once you get well versed with this, scenario, once you practice this scenario, it becomes once you get well versed, it should be easy, to manage complex use cases. Okay, I'll do it for Amazon. Now let's take it here. This I'll rename as KPI scorecard. Okay, recording is on now. All right, let's do a working for my first KPI is invoiced with invoice with order profit greater than 20%. Yeah. Okay, let's change this to 20%. Okay, there may be a reason I have changed it, I guess. Okay, so very first thing we need to do is like create a formula here. Okay, this is my KPI one. I'll name, let's say, KPI one, and mark this as yellow. What I want is I want to identify the invoices uh, which has profit greater than 20%. Okay, and then identify
Mhm.
those invoices. So what I'll do use a simple if simple formula equal to if uh, my this divided by invoice value is greater than 20%, then 1 else 0. Okay, it's working fine. Okay, clear what I have done so far. All I'm doing is I'm like marking my invoices which has profit greater than 20%. The simple if formula I have written: if my this profit divided by sales is greater than, which will give me, this will give me my profit percentage. If it is greater than 20%, then 1 else 0.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. Now let's drag this formula. Okay, all right, we got 1 0 now. So wherever you see, it is 1, that means it is let's just see, this is 100%. Yeah, no, this is, yeah, 28%. Okay, so our formula is correct. Now let's create a pivot. Okay, there's one more tab that I need to create, that is working pivot. All right, let me create a pivot. Okay, just give this an heading KPI one working, so that it's just for your reference. All right, so what all things I need, for my KPI scorecard? I need month for sure, because we need to find a month. Then I need team. Okay, that is Amazon and DMart, and also we have DMart. Then we have Big Bazaar. All right, so accordingly I'll create my pivot. I'll need team first. Okay, I'll put that in the row. Now, uh, next thing that I want is uh, month. I put month in the row. Okay, and now I want the new field that I created, KPI one. This I'll put it on my roster. Okay, and we also need. So this is my numerator. Okay, this is giving me my numerator key, like there for January 116 invoices were greater than 20%. Okay, but I also need a denominator to calculate the percentage. So you can simply take
Mhm.
any particular, say, count of any particular cell. Let's say I will take a count of invoice number. What is replacing? Let's say I'll take a count of. So yeah. So this is my understood so far what I'm doing. Okay.
So
So this
that
is my
shows that
numerator and this
in
is
the
my
month of
denominator.
January,
Yeah. So this shows that like there were 157 invoices in January, out of which 116 were greater than 20%.
20%.
Got it,
Okay.
everyone? Divya, you getting it? All right. Now let's see how we can put this in our KPI scorecard. Uh, okay. I will use get pivot. Okay. Uh, See, there are multiple ways to do things. Yeah. So there are multiple ways to do things. I will use get pivot function, which makes it little easy. So all I need to do is equal to this divided by numerator divided by denominator. Okay. So now this is giving me a percentage, but this is a hard coded value. So this is giving for Amazon month Jan. Uh, okay, month. So month I need to. I will give the reference of above cell. Okay, I want it for June, July, August. Okay, then I need to drag it on the right side. Yeah, and then here also I'll change it to. Okay. Now team also you can, like, you can refer it to this cell, but now like since we are doing it for Amazon, we can keep it as it is, or else you can do, if you want to drag this formula downwards, like you have different customers, then you can put the reference for Amazon also, like this one I'll give it A3 because I have Amazon in my A3. This, assuming we'll have to drag it downwards for the DMart and Skilly, so I'll just freeze the column. Same thing you can do it for here. Okay. Now I just need to drag the formula. Okay, quarter ka we have not created. December. Any questions on the get pivot? So get pivot is the easiest way to do things, because in the formula we don't have to write any formula. We just need to link it to make it dynamic. Okay. So when you just point to the pivot, it generates the get pivot, but it generates the hard coded get pivot. You know, you need to make it dynamic by referring to the cells that you want. Any questions here?
No,
No.
sir.
Any, or you want me to cover get pivot again? No, right? Okay. All right. So we let's see if it is correct or not. Let's see if the 73% is correct or not. Target will reduce a bit. Okay, एक जन ने भी achieve नहीं किया है 70%. Okay. Uh, yeah. So we have for Amazon के लिए हम लोग ने जून का देखा है. So that is 161 divided by 2. So it's giving me 72%. That is what my uh, KPI is showing. Okay, that is a 73%. All right. So we are done with the first KPI. Okay. So we need to calculate quarterly also, but quarter के लिए हम लोग को फिर से there is a separate working that we need to do. Okay. Either you direct take average of these three. Okay, that is also okay if it's okay with your business. Okay, you can check with your business, your client or your stakeholder if they are okay to take average directly for 3 months. If they are not okay, we need to create that. Okay, now when you see the data, you do not have quarter here, so again you have to find quarter. Okay, how will you do that? Let's do a mapping quickly. Quarter mapping. I'll remove duplicate. एक को सॉर्ट कर सकते हैं क्या? Okay, so now see, usually like in normal calendar, our months like the calendar starts from Jan. Okay, but in general means we follow this fiscal calendar where the month starts from June. Okay, so my quarter one is June, 3 months. This is quarter two. This is quarter three. This is quarter three, and this is quarter four. Okay, now all we will do is simply do a VLOOKUP in a data source to find the quarter. Okay, any questions here? Now because we do not have a quarter in our data, we are trying to find a, let's color it with different. All right, now we need to, in our working pivot, we'll have to create one more pivot because this is month wise, right? We need to create one more pivot for quarter wise data. All right. Same thing, team, but instead of month, I'll take quarter. Okay, and then uh, KPI, then invoice count for my denominator. Okay. Now again I will write a simple, like for my quarter one, I'll I'll use a get pivot, my numerator divided by my denominator. Okay, but you see that this is creating a hard coded formula. Okay, we can, if we drag it, it will give me the same numbers for all the months, because this is for quarter one hard coded. Okay, now I need to link it with the cell. Okay, now if I copy it in the quarter two, it is giving me percentage. Quarter three we have not. So this is a monthly process. Okay, every like ये जो KPI my executive will do this process monthly basis. So far like say December तक ही हुआ है, next month हुआ नहीं. Assume it's an hypothetical situation. December next month का data is yet to be arrived. Okay, once the data is available, we'll calculate for Jan, and Jan ka will add as a, so it's going to be a monthly process. So for now the quarters that you have completed is only two quarters, that is quarter one and quarter two. Ideally this should be here. Okay, any questions so far?
No.
No, right? Okay. See, ideally, if you also worried about, the performance of your report, uh, best way to do it using sum if and count if. But it's, as you said, you need to practice, and I'm not sure if what is the comfort level for sum if and count if. Hence, I'm taking it an easy way, that is get pivot. But this really impacts the performance of your dashboard, because you have to create pivot for each and everything. For each and every view you need to create, like even for overall we'll have to create a separate pivot without any month and without any quarter,
Mm.
right? But when you get into this particular role and you're working as a like core, why is there an echo क्यों आ रहा है आवाज? हाँ, so I best practice will be use sum if and count if, but yeah, get pivot is also an efficient way. If you do not have a large data, your data is not that large, then get pivot is the quick way to create our KPI. Now we'll do an overall. Okay, overall के लिए we'll take the, I think we can use it directly from here. Okay, यहाँ पे overall numbers है मेरे पास, दोनों same है. So you don't have to create a new pivot because you can get directly from here. So this overall will be my, this divided by this. The overall is 72%. Okay. Now how to do an yeah, conditional formatting. Let's say I want to give this one. Okay, you go to manage rules and edit this. Okay, now my goal, my target is 70%. So anything equal to or greater than 70%, I want to show green. Okay, first thing I'll change this to number. Percentage, I'm not sure if it doesn't work properly. So 0.7, okay, is my green. In between, like we have not assigned, but we can, let's say if it is less than 70 and greater than uh, equal to 0.5, okay, then I want yellow. and less than 50 I want red. Okay, apply. Okay, so we are good. Most of the time we are good. There is no red because it's greater than equal to था ना. अच्छा, it's not 70 because ये see decimals है. It is 69.8 and it is yellow. Any questions here?
No.
Good, right? Okay. Now let's move to our next. Invoice should be processed in less than 3 days. Okay. So very first step will be we need a column to identify which are the invoices which are processed in less than 3 days. So we'll go back to our data source. We'll create a column for KPI 2. Okay. Now we need to find a difference of days, right? Yeah, we have this invoice date or we have this process date. That means invoice आया 30th March को and it was processed on 5th April. Okay, so we'll have to calculate the difference of days from this. Okay. Uh, First name I will give process days. Okay, it will be simple this minus this. 6 दिन है क्या? अच्छा हाँ, right, whatever it is. Okay, so it is giving me 6 days. Or you can use network days if you want to exclude weekends. Network days this comma. अच्छा ये उल्टा हो जाएगा T2. So network days, what it does is it excludes weekends from your. अगर बीच में कुछ weekend आया तो it will exclude.
Mhm.
Okay. Now this is giving me days. Okay. Now my KPI 2. Simple. Again, a very simple formula that you need to write. Equal to if it's this is greater than equal to 3, then 1 else 0. 1 is the one which are met, 0 is the one which are not met. Okay, and then now we need to follow the same process that we did. Yeah, now if you are doing it with the with sum if and count if, you don't have to create pivots at all. That is basically takes away a lot of uh, heaviness from the report. You create multiple pivots, your report becomes heavy, and then the performance deteriorates. So efficient way, the very efficient way to do it using sum if and count if. But yeah, you need to be well versed with sum if and count if. Let's try this. Let's try this using sum if and count if. किसका है? हाँ, उनको उठा उठा और बोल बस शाम को थोड़े टाइम में करेंगे बोल. उठा, कॉल उठा इशिरा. Yeah. um, just give me 1 minute. Yeah, so let's try this using sum if count if. Yeah, let me just recollect. There's a lot of disturbance around. Invoice should be processed in less than 3 days. Yeah. All right. So we'll have to do sum if here. Okay. What we need to do is take the sum of the ones. Okay. to identify my numerator, and then for denominator I will use the count if. Let's see how to do that. So we are not creating any pivot for the second one. We are doing it directly, using sum ifs and count ifs. I'll do sum ifs first. My sum range is this, comma, my criteria one is team first, team, okay, and then my criteria is Amazon. My criteria two is months, months, and my criteria for this is ये month. Okay, ये मेरा न्यूमरेटर रेडी हो गया. Anyone has any questions यहाँ पे? So now if I do this, it is giving me let's say number करता हूँ इसको, not percentage. Okay, it is giving me my numerator. ऐसा क्यों आ रहा है ये? स्ट्रेंज है, दिस इज क्या हो गया है, ये समझ ही नहीं रहा. ठीक है, विल फिगर आउट लेटर क्या हो रहा है ये.
Uh, could you please read it?
हाँ,
Could you please repeat this formula, sum if,
या
criteria? Mhm.
या 1 minute. I really don't know how, what's going wrong here. अच्छा ठीक है, I'll write the sum if formula for again. Sum ifs, we have multiple criteria, since I'll take sum ifs. Sum range will be my this KPI 2. Now very first thing it asks for sum range. Okay, we need to define the sum range. Criteria range is my first is my team. Okay, comma, my criteria for this is my team here, one cell. Okay, let's name this as, let's give a proper name. So because हम लोग ने वो merge किया है cell, it is not taking properly. Amazon.
Mhm.
नहीं नहीं, it was taking properly in the uh, ठीक है, let's define it. Amazon. My criteria 2 is my month. Okay, so I'll go to the data source and select the
Mm.
month, and for that my criteria is yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
and because I have to drag it on the right, I will freeze rows. Okay, so now this is giving me my numerator.
Mhm.
Okay, and for the denominator I just needed count of all the invoices, so I'll use count ifs.
Mhm.
Count ifs, same thing I need to, but count if it is asking only for the criteria, and because there is no aggregation required. Criteria one is my
Mhm.
team. Okay,
Mhm.
and for that the criteria is Amazon.
Mhm.
My criteria range to is month, uh, for which my is this. Okay, so now it is giving the percentage. H 1 minute. There is something wrong with the count if count if yeah count comma Amazon. This will be my month. What's this behaving weird? I don't know. Spelling गलत है क्या Amazon का? You know. Let me try one more time. I don't see what criteria range. First is my team. Okay. अच्छा हाँ मैंने वो एच लिया था, टीम मेंबर लिया था. ओके, it's Amazon. Then my month is my ये जून. 100% कैसा आ रहा है? Let's see that. हो सकता है, that is a possibility. Amazon filter किया and let's say month June. Okay, all my invoice are processed. अच्छा greater than. अरे यार R should be less than ना, not greater than. It should be less than ना, it should be not greater than. Less than or equal to 3. हाँ. Understood ना the mistake that I did. You know our formula KPI is it should be less than 3. Okay, not the greater than.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Yes.
now we get the score that is correct, that is 28%. Okay, understood. So for this, if you use sum if and count if, you don't have to create pivot. By creating pivot, it's easy. All you have to do is just get pivot and then just link it. But and the best way to do it using sum if and count if, because then your dashboard is not very heavy. Now
Mhm.
all I will do is just simply drag this. Let's change the target because 28% ये यहाँ पे कर रहा हूँ तो क्या आ रहा है? एक मिनट. जीरो का सब कुछ भी. अच्छा, we have not freezed this, so this we need to freeze. और यहाँ पे कुछ रह गया है क्या? ओके, 24 आ रहा है. लेट्स से 25% कर देते टारगेट. डिफाइन नहीं. हाँ. ओके, नाउ क्वार्टर के लिए So quarter के लिए again it will be all I will have to remove replace month का जो column है उसके बदले quarter का column. Okay. So let me write the sum ifs again. Sum if data source team, then Amazon. Now instead of month we will take quarter. Okay, quarter का column. Oh sorry, sum if very first thing we need to assign is sum range. Sum ifs sum range, that is sum range is my this one. Okay, KPI 2. I need to freeze this comma. Second it is asking criteria range 1, that is my team. Okay, again freeze this, and then this should be Amazon. Then criteria 2 is my quarter. I freeze this, and then this should link it with the quarter 1. Number. Now my numerator is count ifs. uh, Count ifs, it is asking for criteria. Okay, first is team. Amazon, comma, next is quarter. Okay, and overall may it will be like direct straightforward, there is no month or quarter. The easy way will be just copy this formula. Okay, then जो क्वार्टर का पार्ट है वो रिमूव कर दो इसमें से, विच इज द लास्ट वन. ये वाला रिमूव कर दो, और इसमें से भी लास्ट वाला रिमूव कर दो. ओके, अंडरस्टूड. क्या किया, इंस्टेड ऑफ राइटिंग द एंटायर फॉर्मूला अगेन आई जस्ट यही लिया मैंने, बिकॉज ओवरऑल में वी डोंट वांट एनी मंथ एंड क्वार्टर ना, सो आई जस्ट रिमूव दैट क्वार्टर का पार्ट. ओके, अंडरस्टूड.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, sir.
Okay, let's do the conditional formatting and manage rules. Edit rules are make this number. Now the green is if it is greater than or equal to 0.25, and then we'll give the threshold as if it is less than 25, and if it is 22, then okay. So we'll keep this to, I think we need more time. uh, this is little more complex because we need to find, not super complex, but we need to find our denominator will be not that straightforward. Okay, I think we should continue this in our next session. Or do you want to continue? What do you suggest?
Uh, maybe we can continue this in next session, and till the time we will get time to practice for the first
Yeah, it's
week.
important, hence, I've been telling that, practice is very important.
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
some ifs and count ifs and all those things, now you need to know before you get into these topics. You should be completely well versed with some if and count ifs and we look up if condition nested if. Okay.
Yes. Yes,
Mhm.
sir.
Yeah. So but just practice, and and if required, we'll quickly do a recap in our next session. And if you are comfortable, we can start with the other two KPI.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
I'll share this file with everyone. Anyone has any questions?
No, sir. We'll practice this week and then we'll have question the next week.
Yeah, this is important. This is important. You can really contribute, to your team, and uh, drive some improvements in your current work with if you know all these things.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right, then we'll end here today. We'll meet on next Saturday then. All right. Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you, sir. Yeah.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.